Bradley Walsh has always been known as the man who makes everyone laugh. The quick smile, the playful jokes, the comforting presence that feels like family, even through a screen. But this time, something was different. When Bradley appeared alongside Donna, viewers could sense it immediately. The laughter came slower. The smile didn't quite reach his eyes, and when he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that couldn't be hidden behind humor or charm. This wasn't just another emotional moment. This was personal. Those close to Bradley know how deeply he loves, not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily, loyally, and with a warmth that never fades. And when Donna found herself facing a frightening family emergency, Bradley didn't hesitate. Not for a second. He stood right beside her, not as a television personality, not as a public figure, but as a partner whose heart was quietly breaking while trying to stay strong for the woman he loves. Donna, usually so composed and radiant, looked shaken. The sparkle that fans adore was still there, but behind it was worry, the kind that tightens your chest and makes time feel slower. And Bradley saw it. He felt it. He carried it with her. In that moment, something beautifully human happened. Bradley tried to lighten the mood, as he always does. A soft joke, a familiar smile, the kind that says, "We'll get through this." And for a brief second, Donna laughed, just a little. That laugh mattered more than any applause ever could. But then, his voice cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough. Enough for the room to fall quiet. Enough for Donna to reach for his hand. Enough for viewers to realize that even the strongest hearts sometimes tremble. Bradley Walsh breaking down wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of love so deep that it refused to stay hidden. He spoke about family, not in detail, not with fear, but with reverence, with gratitude, with the kind of emotion that only comes when you realize how precious every ordinary moment truly is. Donna listened, her eyes glistening, her hand still holding his, and in that silence between words, something powerful was shared, a reminder that love doesn't always need grand speeches. Sometimes it just needs presence. There was something unexpectedly romantic about it all. Not the kind of romance you see in movies, but the real kind. The kind built on shared worries, late-night conversations, and quiet strength. The kind where laughter becomes medicine, and holding hands feels like armor. And yet, even in the heaviness, Bradley couldn't help being Bradley. He teased Donna gently, joking that she was still the stronger one, that she always had been. She rolled her eyes, smiled through the emotion, and replied with a playful remark that made him laugh through tears. That moment, light, loving, imperfect, felt real. It reminded everyone watching that love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when you're scared, especially when you're scared. As the conversation continued, Bradley spoke less, but said more. Every pause carried meaning. Every breath held emotion. Every glance toward Donna said, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Donna later shared that the support she felt in that moment was overwhelming, not just from Bradley, but from the love surrounding them. Yet it was Bradley's quiet strength that grounded her most. He didn't try to fix everything. He didn't pretend things weren't serious. He simply stayed. And sometimes that's the greatest act of love there is. Viewers across the country reacted instantly. Messages poured in, not out of pity, but out of connection. Because everyone has been there. Everyone has faced a moment when laughter feels hard and the future feels uncertain. Seeing someone like Bradley, so familiar, so warm, open his heart like that, made people feel less alone. There was no drama, no exaggeration, just truth. And truth has a way of touching people deeply. As the moment came to an end, Bradley squeezed Donna's hand and smiled again, this time softer, steadier. Not because everything was okay, but because they were facing it together. That smile said everything. It said love doesn't disappear when life gets hard. It grows stronger. It said even in fear there can be tenderness. Even in uncertainty there can be hope.
And perhaps most importantly, it reminded us all that behind every public smile is a private heart, one capable of breaking, healing, and loving all at once. Bradley Walsh didn't just share a moment, he shared a message. That being strong doesn't mean being silent, that love is shown in the smallest gestures, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let yourself feel. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of someone you love, or if it simply made you smile through emotion, hold on to that feeling, because stories like this aren't just about celebrities, they're about us. And if you believe that love, laughter, and honesty still matter in a world that moves too fast, stay close. There are more
The days that
moments worth
followed
sharing.
felt quieter than usual. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that settles in softly, like a pause between heartbeats. Bradley and Donna moved through those days together, side by side, sharing cups of tea that went cold because neither of them remembered to drink, exchanging looks that said more than words ever could. Bradley had always been a talker, a storyteller, someone who filled rooms with warmth and laughter. Yet now his jokes came gently, carefully placed, as if he didn't want to disturb the fragile calm they were holding on to. Donna noticed this, of course. She teased him one evening, smiling through tired eyes, telling him he was being suspiciously quiet. Bradley raised an eyebrow and replied that he was simply saving his best jokes for when they were truly needed. That earned him a soft laugh, the kind that feels like a small victory. And Bradley treasured that sound. Behind closed doors, away from cameras and expectations, Bradley showed a side few people ever get to see. Not dramatic, not loud, just deeply attentive. He remembered little things, how Donna liked the lights dimmed in the evening, how she preferred silence before sleep, how holding hands helped her steady her thoughts. Sometimes they laughed at the strangest moments. Once, Bradley attempted to cook dinner, something he rarely did without supervision. He confidently announced that it would be simple. 20 minutes later, the kitchen looked like a minor disaster, and Donna couldn't stop laughing as Bradley tried to explain how the situation had evolved. That laughter mattered. It broke the tension. It reminded them that joy still existed. It reminded Bradley why he would do anything, absolutely anything, to protect her smile. At night, when the world finally slowed down, Bradley would lie awake, listening to Donna's breathing, counting each rise and fall like a promise. He didn't say much during those moments. He didn't need to. His presence was enough. Love, he realized, wasn't about fixing problems. It was about staying when things felt uncertain. Donna, too, found strength she didn't know she had. She spoke openly to Bradley about her fears, not in panic, but in honesty. She admitted the moments when worry crept in unexpectedly, when even ordinary things felt heavy. Bradley listened without interrupting, without trying to lighten the mood. When she finished, he simply said, "We'll take it one step at a time, together." That word, together, became their anchor. Friends and colleagues noticed the change in Bradley as well. He was still kind, still funny, still unmistakably himself, but there was a new depth to him, a tenderness that came from loving someone through uncertainty. And strangely, that made people admire him even more. Donna once joked that Bradley had become unreasonably heroic just by making sure she always knew where her phone was. He replied that locating lost phones was clearly his greatest hidden talent. They laughed, leaning into each other, and for a moment the world felt lighter. Romance doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it looks like shared jokes in the kitchen. Sometimes it looks like quiet understanding. Sometimes it looks like a man holding back tears so the woman he loves doesn't feel alone. Bradley never pretended he wasn't afraid. He just refused to let fear lead. Instead, he chose kindness, patience, humor, love. One evening, as they sat together watching television, Bradley rested his head on Bradley's shoulder. He kissed the top of her head without thinking, a reflex built from years of affection. She smiled and whispered that she felt safe.
That word stayed with him. Safe. Not perfect, not easy, but safe. And that, Bradley knew, was everything. The story that began as a frightening moment slowly transformed into something else, not because the worry disappeared, but because love made space for hope. People often talk about strength as something loud and visible, but Bradley learned that real strength is quiet. It's steady. It's choosing to show up every single day, even when you don't have all the answers. Donna saw that strength in him, and it gave her courage. Together, they found joy in small victories, morning sunlight through the window, shared laughter over silly memories, the comfort of knowing neither of them had to face anything alone. And perhaps that's why this story resonated so deeply with people, because it wasn't about fear, it was about love standing firm in the middle of uncertainty. Bradley Walsh didn't just break down, he opened up. And in doing so, he reminded everyone watching that vulnerability isn't something to hide, it's something to honor. As life continued forward, Bradley and Donna carried on, not unchanged, but closer, more connected, more aware of how precious ordinary moments truly are. And somewhere between laughter and tears, between worry and hope, they found something beautiful. A deeper love, a stronger bond, a story worth holding on to. If you've ever loved someone through a difficult moment, you already understand this story. And if it made you smile, laugh, or feel just a little less alone, then its purpose has already been fulfilled. Because some stories aren't meant to shock, they're meant to stay with you.